F-35 gets the headlines. The B-2 Spirit gets the mystery. But buried inside the CENTCOM briefings covering Operation Epic Fury, there is an aircraft that never makes the front page. An aircraft the Pentagon was planning to retire, cracked airframes, a 47% readiness rate, a replacement already rolling off the production line. 3 of them took off from Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota on the night of March 1st. 34 hours later, they came home. In between, each one carried over 100,000 pounds of ordnance into targets that no other aircraft in the American inventory could reach, could carry enough to destroy, or could survive long enough to hit. The B-1B Lancer, the bomber America almost threw away, the one that solved the hardest equation in this war. Iran's answer to decades of air power was not bravado, but engineering. Deep beneath the arid plains of Khuzestan, Hormozgan, and Bushehr, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps carved a network of tunnels into the rock, some plunging 30 meters and even 70 meters below the surface. These were not haphazard bunkers. Each tunnel mouth and launch bay was sheathed in up to 3 meters of reinforced concrete, designed to shrug off the kinds of bombs that shattered Saddam's missile sites in the 1980s. After the War of the Cities left Tehran exposed to Scud attacks, Iranian planners shifted from dispersal to deep burial, trading mobility for survival. Every kilometer of tunnel, every blast door was mapped with one goal: to keep missiles intact for a retaliatory strike, even after the first wave of American or Israeli bombs. Satellite images in the years before Operation Epic Fury revealed clusters of ventilation shafts and camouflaged exits near the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point where a single missile launch could threaten global oil supply. These sites were not isolated. They were distributed across provinces with hardened silos and storage vaults often separated by several kilometers. U.S. intelligence estimated roughly 2,500 ballistic missiles hidden within these underground cities, most stored on mobile launchers that could be rolled out, fired, and hidden again in minutes. The depth, the thickness of concrete, and the sheer dispersion of these sites posed a challenge that no single weapon and no single platform could solve easily. The engineering logic was simple. Anything less than a direct, deep penetrating hit would leave the arsenal untouched, ready to fire back. Numbers alone don't win a war of tunnels and concrete. The B-52 Stratofortress, for all its legendary status and sheer size, carries a radar cross-section that lights up every modern air defense network. Its external bomb racks make it a flying target, not a deep strike solution. The B-2 Spirit, cloaked in stealth, can slip past radar and deliver the 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator, but the numbers don't add up. Only about 20 B-2s exist worldwide, with just 2 able to fly at once in most real-world scenarios. Each B-2 can carry 2 MOPS per sortie, enough for a handful of targets, never a dispersed network of hundreds. The F-35A, the Air Force's newest multi-role fighter, excels at suppression of enemy air defenses, but its internal bays max out at 4 2,000-pound bombs. Loading heavier or more numerous munitions means hanging weapons outside, which kills its stealth and range. In a campaign against hardened, deeply buried missile cities, these platforms quickly hit their limits. The B-52 offers volume, but not survivability. The B-2 offers stealth, but not mass. The F-35 brings precision, but not payload. When the task is to deliver dozens of bunker-busting bombs in a single night across a theater bristling with underground launchers, the field narrows. The Pentagon's own trade-off matrix, stealth versus payload, survivability versus volume, left a gap that none of the legacy platforms could close. Only after enemy air defenses had been broken by F-35s and waves of cruise missiles could a non-stealth, high-payload bomber even enter the fight. That left a single, aging airframe standing between mission success and a second wave of missile launches. The B-1B Lancer's value begins in its airframe, where engineering choices translate directly to battlefield math. Its variable sweep wings shift from 15 degrees for maximum span to 67.5 degrees for swept-back speed, and they allow the bomber to adjust wide for fuel-efficient cruise across continents and tight for fast, low-level attack runs. This flexibility is not cosmetic. It means a single Lancer can leave Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota, refuel once over the Atlantic, and strike targets 7,000 nautical miles away without touching another runway. Where most bombers face a trade-off between range and payload, the B-1B's internal bays and modular pylons erase that line. It can carry up to 24 AGM-158B JASSM-ER cruise missiles internally, or mix and match with GBU-31 JDAMs and the heavy GBU-72 penetrators needed to reach deep into concrete and rock. During Operation Epic Fury, loadouts commonly included both standoff missiles and bunker busters, with the aircraft's rotary launcher system enabling rapid sequencing of weapons. This is the only U.S. bomber able to deliver 36 precision-guided munitions in a single sortie, enough to saturate a network of underground tunnels or eliminate dispersed launchers in one wave. Yet for all its brute force, the B-1B is not a stealth aircraft. Its survival in Iranian airspace depended entirely on F-35s and cruise missiles clearing the path. Once the air defense grid was punched open, the Lancer's decisive payload became the decisive factor. The result is a platform built not for every war, but for the rare moment when mass, range, and adaptability must converge to break the enemy's hardest targets. 3 B-1B Lancers lifted off from Ellsworth Air Force Base on March 1, 2026, tracing a 34-hour arc across the Atlantic. Each aircraft carried up to 75,000 pounds of ordnance and was sustained by aerial refueling over the ocean. No intermediate stops, no margin for error. By the evening of March 6, 2026, the first wave landed at RAF Fairford. Ground crews moved fast. Within 48 hours, British rotary launchers were replaced with racks for GBU-31 JDAM munitions and the new GBU-72 penetrators, converting the base from a maritime strike hub to a fortress-busting assembly line. The operational tempo was relentless. B-1Bs flew sortie loops lasting 3 to 4 days, with each round trip taking about 34 hours. Tankers waited over the Atlantic and over the Mediterranean, keeping the bombers fueled for the next strike window. Fairford swelled with activity, 8 Lancers at first, then up to 15 strategic bombers on the apron as the campaign expanded. The logistics chain flexed to keep up. Maintenance teams raced to swap bomb racks, rearm crews loaded mixed payloads, and mission planners juggled target lists that changed by the hour. Volume was everything, but cost cast a shadow over every mission. More than 400 Tomahawk cruise missiles were launched in the first 72 hours, nearly 6 years' worth of production spent in 3 days. The Pentagon stockpile thinned with each volley, forcing a shift from standoff missiles to JDAM munitions and direct attack penetrators as soon as air defenses were suppressed. The B-1B's advantage was not stealth or invulnerability, but its ability to deliver mass, dozens of precision bombs in a single night once the path had been cleared by F-35 aircraft and Tomahawks. Every sortie delivered a lesson in arithmetic, payload, tempo, and cost, balanced against the limits of production and the fatigue of an aging fleet. The GBU-72 Advanced 5,000-pound penetrator entered combat for the first time on March 17, 2026. Designed to breach more than 6 meters of reinforced concrete, this weapon was engineered for one purpose: to collapse what Iran had spent decades burying. Its steel casing and programmable delay fuse let it punch through layers of rock and concrete before detonating deep inside, turning entire tunnel sections into rubble. Admiral Brad Cooper confirmed its use against hardened missile sites near the Strait of Hormuz, describing how the bomb's delayed explosion triggered secondary blasts, which were clear evidence that warheads and fuel stores were crushed inside. Unlike the 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator, which only the rare B-2 can deliver and only twice per sortie, the B-1B carried up to 3 GBU-72 munitions at once, multiplying the number of targets struck per mission. The result was not just surface craters, but collapsed vaults and sealed tunnel mouths, physical proof that brute force, paired with precise timing, could defeat even the most hardened underground defenses. Destruction on this scale is measured not just in craters, but in numbers that alter the balance of power. U.S. Central Command estimated that roughly 700 Iranian ballistic missiles were rendered inoperable, nearly a third of Tehran's pre-war stockpile, buried for decades and neutralized in under a month. Satellite analysts tracked the sudden drop. Heat signatures vanished at tunnel mouths, launch ramps caved in, and missile fuel storage went dark. The missile launch rate fell by 90%, and the threat to shipping in the Strait of Hormuz receded. Yet every wave of bombers carried a hidden cost. Maintenance logs from RAF Fairford told a different story: structural fatigue, cracked actuators, and a mission-capable rate that dipped to 47% as the campaign wore on. For every B-1B that returned, another sat grounded, waiting for parts or inspection. The operation's success depended on a chain of events. F-35s and cruise missiles had to break open Iran's air defenses first, or the B-1Bs would never have reached their targets. The campaign proved the value of massed payload, but it also exposed the limits of an aging fleet and left open the question of what happens when the volume runs out. Tonight, the B-1B stands not as a relic, but as a blunt instrument, non-stealth, irreplaceable in payload, and exhausted by its own relevance. Iran's tunnels proved cunning, and only after F-35s and cruise missiles cleared the skies could massed bomb loads matter. The arsenal gap now stares back, unresolved. What fills it?